Good morning, everybody. I hope you're doing super well. Actually, right now, I hope that you're super still in your beds, because nobody should be awake at this hour of the morning. But I am, because today is going to be a day of great celebration and great deliciousness. But first, we have to earn it. So, it's time for a little jog. See you in a few. Whew, now that was a run. And just like that, can you see it? I don't know. 32.02 miles. Just under 5 hours. Wow, I'm glad that I started that early in the morning, because while it was very early, it is only 8:30 and it is getting warm. It's going to be a hot one today, so time to get out of the sun, time to go inside and get cleaned up, and then time to start thinking about food. So this week was my birthday, and every year on or around my birthday, I usually try to have a meal that is just out of this world, sort of my culinary debauchery for my birthday week or birthday month or however long you like to celebrate birthdays. This year, I had an idea for a very specific meal. You'll see that coming up at lunchtime. But then as I continued to think about it, I said, why stop at one meal? Why not make it a full day of just epic eating? And not only that, why don't we theme it this year? Why don't we make a whole bunch of meals and a whole bunch of foods around a theme? And this year's theme is foods that I associate with New England and my home state of Maine. So let's get cracking here. We're gonna put breakfast on the table, show you what we got, and then it's gonna be time to dig in. And just like that, it's time for breakfast. Which is interesting because I'm not typically a breakfast person. 95% of the time, I don't eat breakfast. But it's sort of a paradox because I do love a good breakfast, and we have got a fantastic breakfast here. So, on the menu, the centerpiece, of course, blueberry pancakes. I mean, pancakes are great. But as I was thinking between pancakes versus French toast versus waffles, pancakes are classic, and blueberry pancakes are classic Maine. This takes me back to childhood, Aunt Bonnie whipping up a batch of blueberry pancakes at the farm every summer when we go up to visit her on summer vacation. These things look terrific. I actually put some blueberries into the batter as we made them, and I'm going to sprinkle on a few more here on top just to create a little, and they're all rolling down into my lap. That's great. Extra blueberries for later. Blueberries are very circular things. They roll easily. We use two different kinds of batter for the pancakes. I didn't make them from scratch, like several of other of the things that you'll see today that I did make from scratch. But I used some of a box mix that was labeled a buttermilk batter, and some that was labeled as an extra light and fluffy batter. The buttermilk ones cooked up prettier. They both seem to be about the same in terms of light and fluffiness, so they're gonna taste great. Let's be real. I'm not worried about that whatsoever. So get some butter on there, and of course, true Vermont maple syrup. Vermont, of course, near and dear to my heart, where my mother's parents, my maternal grandparents lived. And there's nothing like that authentic maple syrup taste. Let's just pour that over and start letting that soak in. Oh, it's gorgeous. Our sides for this breakfast, I'll be completely honest, the muffins, nothing to do with New England whatsoever. I just happened to pick up a cranberry orange muffin mix off the shelf at the store several months ago, and I've had no good cause to use it until today. But little cranberry muffins look delicious, smell very sweet. We'll have to try those out. And then of course we have some donuts from the one and only Dunkin' Donuts. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not a Krispy Kreme, I'm not an enemy of Krispy Kreme donuts, but when it comes to if I have a choice, it's gonna be Dunkin' every time. Because Dunkin', founded in Massachusetts, New England roots.
We'll get into the donuts, we'll get into the muffins, but let's just take a few bites out of these blueberry pancakes and see how we're doing here. Oh, and the sloth mug, of course, is just coffee, just right for dipping our donuts in. I don't remember the last time that I had pancakes. It's been a while, but they weren't as good as these. Oh, those are good pancakes, guys. Specifically, I don't remember the last time I had blueberry pancakes. Mmm! Oh, those blueberries. The pancakes on their own are fantastic. Really, whatever box mix this is, and I think it's just Walmart off the shelf. Very good, great consistency, great taste, great flavor. But then you get those little blueberry explosions. Glad I put them in the batter. Wow. That's all I can say is wow. Okay, so we're about halfway done with the pancakes now. We're gonna try some of these sides that we have. I'm gonna come back to the pancakes here in a bit. So let's try a muffin. Why not? Let's go for it. See how these are. Cranberry orange doesn't hold necessarily any New England connotations for me. If anything, cranberry orange muffins make me think of Biscuitville, which is a breakfast fast food chain that you mostly find in North Carolina. They had great big old cranberry orange muffins. I doubt these are going to live up to that standard, but we'll try them and see. Yeah, that's pleasing. Pleasing. Nice notes of cranberry, nice notes of orange. It's kind of just like a regular muffin that has hints of the cranberry pieces and some orange flavor in it. I think one of the things that I loved about Biscuitvilles, the batter itself for the muffin was almost orange. Like it was much heavily orange flavored, and then there were cranberries in it. So you really got strong notes of that flavor. This is more kind of just like a neutral base with some flavors into it, but it's good. I'm pleased. Not bad. Buy low, deal back. Not bad. My sloth mug, easily one of my favorite mugs. Soonish, it says, if you can't tell. I saw this mug in a store in the mall with my wife a few years ago. And of course me, loving all things sloths, said, oh, what a great mug. I'd love that mug. I probably forgot about it less than 3 days later. But 6 months later, when it was it my birthday or Christmas? I think Christmas. She says Christmas, so I believe her. I open up a box and what do I have? The very sloth mug that I'd forgotten about. What a blessing my wife is. Let's try a donut, shall we? I went to Dunkin' Donuts this morning, planning to maybe just get 3 donuts for myself and 1 for my wife. So I picked out 4 donuts, and then the lady behind the counter said, well, you have 4, why don't you just go for half a dozen? And I said, ma'am, I don't know how to turn down a sales pitch that good. So we ended up with 6 donuts. 1 for Lindsay, 5 for me, if I eat them all. The question is, do I save my favorite for last, or eat my favorite first? You know what, we're gonna just start with the one on the top. Maple glazed. Beautiful. Light, airy. Just that light coating of maple frosting on top. Perfection. Next one up, we're gonna go for the chocolate cake. Cake donuts, near and dear to my heart. I'm saving the blueberry cake because that one, to me, is the ultimate donut. But we'll tear into the chocolate cake first. See how the quality of cake donut at Dunkin' is holding up these days. I couldn't tell you a lot of specific childhood memories around donuts, but there's something about the cake donut texture and flavor, the density. It connects with something. I don't even know what, but it connects with something. When I was a freshman in college, I actually gave a speech about donuts in my freshman speech class. Our informative speech, we just had to speak informatively about a topic, and I chose donuts. No particular reason, it just seemed interesting. So I got to delve deeply into the history of both Krispy Kreme and Dunkin' Donuts. Dunkin' Donuts, of course, founded in the mid-20th century, I think it was 1950, in Quincy, Massachusetts, now spreading worldwide, bringing delicious donuts to all. It was tricky because it was an informative speech, so I couldn't be persuasive because we had to wait for the persuasive speech later. We weren't supposed to, in the informative speech, try to persuade the class into thinking you should think this and not that. And it was very difficult to remain impartial for Dunkin' Donuts and Krispy Kreme, giving the history of both companies and not trying to prove that Dunkin' was better. One pancake left. Each one has been, I won't say better than the last because that first one was pretty great, but just consistently good. I think I had 6 pancakes total. Each mix that I made sort of made 2 good-sized ones and then a smaller, medium-sized one. Just the right amount. I think I guessed just right on how much syrup I needed too. Pancakes are down. Pancakes were perfect. That was a good decision, guys, not gonna lie. Alright, back to Donut Land. Before I get too full, which is rapidly approaching, we're gonna go straight for the one and only blueberry cake. The first donut that I ever remember really falling in love with. Couldn't tell you where, couldn't tell you when. Just one of those things that if someone asks you, what kind of donut would you describe yourself as? I'd say a blueberry cake. Or maybe a Facebook quiz told me that, I'm not sure. And that is just the right note to end breakfast on. Still got a muffin left, still got a couple donuts left. I don't subscribe to a clean plate philosophy. You know, I have all these options, but sometimes you take a last bite of something and you just know that was the punctuation mark on that meal. And that blueberry cake donut was it. I'll stash these extra donuts and muffin that I have. Maybe I'll pull them out later today. Maybe I won't though, because we have a lot of other things coming for lunch and dinner that you're going to be very excited about. I know I am. But for now, I think it's time to clean up, do some dishes, maybe take a little nap, and start thinking about lunch. We'll see you in a few.
Okay guys, who's ready for lunch? This guy is.
That breakfast went down super, super good. Ah, that was top tier breakfast eating. I regret not a single bite of it. But now it's time for lunch, and this lunch is going to blow my taste buds out of the water. It's been a productive morning. The kitchen is marginally cleaner than it was before, getting at least a couple loads of dishes done, so that's good. So it's time to break out the ingredients. I'm going to put this lunch together, put it on the table, and we'll see you in there for food time. Lunch is absolutely served. Guys, this is it. This is the meal that I've been dreaming of now for weeks, years, really. I mean, the last time I had this exact meal was almost exactly 4 years ago, the last time that I set foot in the state of Maine. I have pictures of it somewhere. We've got fluffernutter sandwiches, we've got moxie, we've got whoopie pies. Bonus addendum that we didn't have last time, we've got salt and vinegar chips, because we needed a little extra salt to balance out all this sweetness. We got a couple of fluffernutter sandwiches. Time to just tear right into one. Oh, they've already melded themselves to the plate. That's a good sign. Food should not be allowed to be that good. It's so good, guys. Okay, first couple bites out of the way. Now I can breathe and talk and pop open a moxie. So a fluffernutter sandwich. What is a fluffernutter sandwich? Well, if you're not familiar with it, very simple. A fluffernutter sandwich is just a sandwich on white bread made of peanut butter and marshmallow fluff. Some people call it marshmallow cream. Marshmallow fluff is really where it's at. Marshmallow fluff was invented in a couple different places in the 1910s. A couple people in Massachusetts both lay claim to it. There was an Emma Curtis, then a few years later an Archibald Query, who made marshmallow cream type products. It really took off when Archibald Query sold his recipe, or sold his formula for his marshmallow cream to a company that still makes it today, the actual marshmallow fluff. Not marshmallow cream, but marshmallow fluff that you see in stores with the distinctive red lid. Same company that bought it from Archibald back in 1920, I think it was. The Durkee Mower Company, that's it. Hey, they make good fluff. But the marshmallow cream is so sweet. You know, it's so just wonderfully, I mean, it's marshmallow in a different form, but you balance that out with the saltiness of the peanut butter. Oh, that's a good sandwich right there. When I last had this meal 4 years ago, I was staying at my Aunt Bonnie's camp, which is on a little lake in the backwoods of Maine. And I sat there on her back deck looking out over Saponic Pond, eating my fluffernutter, drinking my moxie, wearing a Red Sox hat, and reading a Stephen King book. And I just had one of those moments where just a light bulb goes on, and I said, this is what it means to be in Maine to me. With this meal, thinking about my birthday this year, I said, I gotta replicate that meal. I gotta do that exact, as close as possible, exact same setup, paying tribute to my roots, and then the whole day of Maine and New England eating idea was born. So, all thanks to the fluffernutter. Now, moxie, if you haven't had moxie, you're missing out. That's all I can say. Some would say that you're missing out on drinking reduction of motor oil. Moxie's slogan is distinctively different, and it is that. And I understand it's not a drink for everyone, but it's so good. Actually, Moxie is one of the first produced soft drinks in the country. It predates Coca-Cola. True story. 1870s, when a guy in Massachusetts, I think the guy himself was from Maine, came up with this. Of course, back then they were all nerve concoctions, you know, over-the-counter medicines basically. And then he carbonated it a few years later. And it's been going strong ever since. In Maine anyway, in New England. It's kind of hard to find down here. I keep a stash in my pantry. No joke, I have probably 12 or 14 cans or so. Only break them out for very, very special occasions. I don't even remember the last time I broke one out. But having at least 2 today. It's definitely got bitter taste to it, which is interesting because one of the ingredients is gentian root extractives. Gentian root is a root plant from somewhere that's used in the making of alcoholic bitters. So it makes sense that Moxie is a little sharp, but oh, it goes so well, especially when paired with these other foods. There's just a lot of nostalgia in taste sometimes, you know. It's amazing how a combination of flavors can evoke memories, feelings. Beautiful thing. One fluffernutter down. Time to have a few chips. Salt and vinegar chips. Just my favorite kind of chip. That's all there is to it. Salty. Tangy. Kettle chips are nice. Got that thick cut flavor. Boy, having the salt and vinegar chips was a good idea. The fluffernutter is good, but boy, after a while it starts to just get so sweet. That marshmallow cream does not play around. Sorry. Marshmallow fluff. Marshmallow cream, who am I? I think I read there are 3 companies in the United States that make a marshmallow cream type product. 2 of them call them marshmallow cream, but only Turkey Mower calls it marshmallow fluff. They got the trademark on that.
Oh, you need fluff, fluff, fluff to make a fluffernutter. Marshmallow fluff and lots of peanut butter. First you spread, spread, spread your bread with peanut butter and marshmallow fluff and have a fluffernutter. When you enjoy, joy, joy your fluff and peanut butter, you're glad you have enough for another fluffernutter.
All right, so that does it for our main course of lunch. But now it is time, drum roll, for dessert. God, I'm so excited to showcase my very own handmade whoopie pies. What's that you say? Whoopie pies, I said. You may ask, what is a whoopie pie? Let me educate you if you are not aware. Whoopie pie is simply 2 halves of a chocolate cake with a marshmallow buttercream frosting in between. This is a whoopie pie. This is God's dessert, as far as I'm concerned. The dessert of heaven. The dessert of Maine. I could take that back. The whoopie pie is not the official state dessert of Maine, although they did try to introduce legislation for that. No, the whoopie pie is the official state treat of Maine. True story. Maine state legislation passed that back in 2010 or 11, something like that. They must not have a lot of very important things to vote on up there. But hey, I'm glad for it. I'm gonna dig right into this whoopie pie. We also have a little bit of milk to go along with it in my Super Bowl 51 New England Patriots Champions mug. Delightful. That's it. That's perfect. I made these from scratch last night. My first time ever making a whoopie pie. And if I may pat myself on the back, I knocked it out of the park. Oh, that is good. That is very, very good. I certainly got some help because the recipe that I used was the official Governor's Restaurant whoopie pie recipe. Now, Governor's Restaurant is a restaurant that's very near and dear to my heart. There's only 6 of them, maybe 7, 6, small number, scattered throughout the state of Maine. Governor's is a restaurant that my family would go to every summer when we would go back up to Maine to visit family on summer vacations. Governor's has its own bakery. They make their own breads, they make their own desserts. Terrific food, great burgers, but Governor's made whoopie pies. The last time I had, again, this meal 4 years ago, it was with an official Governor's whoopie pie because they sell them to go in their bakery, and I picked up a couple. And so I managed to find their recipe online, and so I made up a batch last night. It's really deceptively simple. I mean, the outer chocolate cakes, pretty basic chocolate cake type recipe. There's no real secret ingredients. And then the interior frosting is your pretty typical buttercream frosting, but with the addition of marshmallow fluff. So you get the marshmallow, it's like a marshmallow cream frosting. And that combination, that's where it's at. You can get whoopie pies in other flavors too. You know, they make seasonal ones, pumpkin whoopie pies, and different flavored fillings and icings, but oh, the classic, the original, that's where it's at. The origin of the whoopie pie is a little bit in dispute. It's hard to say when it was first officially created. A few different communities and locales lay claim to it. The Pennsylvania Dutch have had a whoopie pie-esque treat passed down from generation to generation for a long time. And they still make very good whoopie pies. I've had Pennsylvania Dutch whoopie pies. They're excellent. There's a couple of bakeries in New England that also lay claim to it. There's one in Massachusetts, and there's another one in Lewiston, Maine, that claims to have made the first official whoopie pie in the mid-1920s, I think. It was brought to a little bit more prominence in the 1930s when Durkee Mower, the company that makes the official marshmallow fluff, published a recipe book with a recipe using their marshmallow fluff for the cream frosting, and they called it an Amish whoopie pie. So that was a notch in the caps of the Amish claim to fame. But regardless, it's very much a New England-based treat. No dessert, few desserts, few treats scream Maine as much to me as the whoopie pie. I think that's just going to about do it for lunch, ladies and gentlemen. What a fine meal. Everything that I had been dreaming it would be, and even more. Whew. I tell you what, I took a nap between breakfast and lunch. I'm about ready for another. Whew. That is good eating. delicious. All right, guys, thanks for joining me for lunch. Time to go do some more dishes and gear up for supper here in a few hours. See you in a bit.
Man, is it dinner time already? Even with that run this morning. My stomach is only so big, people. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm excited for this dinner, and even more so for the dessert that follows it, but whew, we have eaten a lot of food today. It's a great day. Dinner time. Yeah, let's serve up some dishes. Let's get them on the table, and let's chow down for the third time today. Here we go.
'Cause it's supper time. Woo! Dinner time here. Meal 3 of the day. Here we go. Another classic New England meal. What do we got? We got beans and brown bread and biscuits. And some leftover chips from lunch. And just in case I need some more salt in my diet. Don't we all? No, probably not. Beans and brown bread were really the key when I thought, okay, what's my third meal gonna be? I've had the fluffernutter, I've had the blueberry pancakes. What's a good dinner meal that's also not maybe too heavy? What do we got here? As far as brown bread goes, the classic B&M. That's Burnham and Morrill, company based out of Portland, I believe? Yeah, Portland, Maine, sure enough. My wife was a little skeptical when I said, yes, this bread does come in a can. It does look kind of funny, I'd forgotten. It comes out looking just like, you know, cranberry sauce with the ridges and all. Perfect. Slice that up, we got some nice brown bread here. And then the beans, boy, I tell you what, I looked really hard for B&M brand beans, because if I could have had the B&M bread and the B&M beans, Portland, Maine, from both, oh, that would have been perfect. Couldn't do it. Supposedly Publix carries B&M products. They do, because they carry the B&M brown bread. And they actually had tags in the bean aisle for the B&M beans, but I went to 4 different Publix, and none of them had beans in stock. And I didn't want to buy a 24 case off of Amazon. So we went with Bush's. Now, look, Bush's beans are great. Nothing against them. They're based out of what, Kentucky or Tennessee, I think. So not a New England-based company, but you know what? That's fine. I'm not going to get bent out of shape about it. I did get the traditional Boston recipe, though. Rich molasses, brown sugar, and pork. They call it Boston. I think of them as the closest relation possible to bean-hole beans, which, of course, a logging camp tradition in Maine, where they would make huge pots of beans. The logging camp cook, or whoever the cook who was making them, have this big old pot of beans that they would make up, and then the day before you eat them, you go out, you dig a hole, fill it with coals, firewood underneath, and you bury this pot of beans in the ground and let it cook overnight. And just, those beans soaking up the flavors that you put in there over the course of a long slow cook like that. And it's basically a slow cooker for the forest and the woods. Beautiful idea. So this is as close as we could come to bean-hole beans. I wasn't going to go quite so far as to dig a hole in my backyard. I mean, I thought about it very briefly, but Graham does quite enough of that. He probably could have dug a hole deep enough for me to put a pot of beans in, but we went the simple route. Gotta let these babies cool down here, fresh off the stovetop. And then biscuits as well. These are just Pillsbury out of a can, nothing fancy there. I just wanted a little more bread product. Biscuits seemed to fit the bill. And then, oh, and what are we drinking? Another B, Barks root beer. Now, this is difficult for me. It's not difficult because I love Barks root beer. I'm very thirsty, and that's so good. I don't know why, but for the longest time, I thought that Barks was a New England-based company. I really did. I feel like Barks was the root beer that I knew growing up, as opposed to A&W or, you know, any of those others. It's not. Barks is a Louisiana, Mississippi, somewhere in the deep south company. So I don't know why I associate it with New England. It's not a New England product. But when I think of childhood root beer, I think of Barks. And sometimes nostalgia wins the day over the practicality of where a company's headquarters is. So that's delicious. So let's see how these beans are, if they've cooled down enough. And, let's give them a shot. That's good. Well, that's very good. That Boston recipe is nice. It's not as sweet as some of the canned varieties of beans that you can find are. You know, some of them are just over the top sweet. These are made using what? Molasses, brown sugar, and pork. But that molasses gives it that rich flavor with just a hint of sweetness. Same with the brown sugar, but it's more of a rich taste than it is like a really sweet, which is nice because boy, we're eating a lot of sugar today. Tell you what. So that savory taste, that's nice. This is far and away the simplest meal of the day, I think. Pop the cans, put the bread into the oven, wrapped in tin foil for 30 minutes or so. It seemed to warm it up nicely. Let's see how the brown bread is. That's brown bread right from a can. We had this sometimes growing up. Not like, it wasn't a regular staple, but enough times. Oh, do I hear someone? Is that a Graham? Graham's coming in. Hey, buddy. How you doing? Graham wants brown bread and beans. Don't you? I bet you do. Maybe if you're good, I'll give you a little piece of biscuit. He likes biscuits. Again, it's such a rich flavor. Yeah, it's whole wheat flour, molasses, dextrose, rye flour, raisins. So yeah, again, molasses. Molasses is such a great sweetener because it's that rich, dark taste, hint of sweetness, but not overpowering. That's so good. All right, let's just tuck into this meal and see where it takes us. You like biscuits? Biscuit. Oh, is that so good? Oh, is that so good? Are you my biscuit boy? Yes, give me all of your biscuits, please. It's like, buttery, flaky. What's not to love? Good boy. It's so good. And I'm so full. Oh. Guys, I cannot lie. I am stuffed right to here. You're like, where? Right to there? I can eat some for you. I know you can, bud. Whew! I thought for sure I'd be able to finish off at least the brown bread or the biscuits. Or even the beans, but there's still some left. I can barely fit another bite in. I still have to have some dessert here in a bit. Whew! So we're going to call that a good meal had. Again, no clean plate policy here, just an enjoyment of good food policy. That's what I'm all about. That was perfection. Biscuits, I mean, you know, biscuits from a can, they're never going to be as good as made from scratch. But Pillsbury does them right. The brown bread, perfection. The beans, great. The barks, delicious. That's a fine supper. That's a fine Yankee supper right there. I'm pleased with it. So, now time to sit back, see if I can digest for a bit. You know, the sun's still out. Maybe I'll go for a bit of a walk. See if I can drum up just a little bit of an appetite for dessert. It's coming here in a few minutes, so stay tuned. We'll be back. It's time for the final delicacy of the day. Final dessert. As quintessential New England as you can get. Blueberry pie. I know at least one of you will get that reference. This is a blueberry crumble pie made with love and affection by my wife, the one and only Lindsay Bean. Give her a hand, everybody. She is marvelous, and she already made me my annual pink lemonade birthday cake earlier in the week. But a couple days ago when I said, babe, do you think you could help me out and make me this blueberry pie recipe? It wasn't even a question. She jumped right to it and made me this incredible looking dessert here. Blueberry pie, but with a sort of granola crumble topping. Oh, I am so full from all the food that I've eaten today. I can't describe. Like, again, I'm still just like right up to here. But I'm still ready for this pie. And I don't know how much I'm gonna get eaten of it. Not the whole thing, I'm sure, but if I can even just get a nice little slice in. Oh, it smells so good. I wish I could waft this aroma through the camera. And what, you might ask, is accompanying the blueberry pie? Well, that is the one and only Grape Nuts ice cream. You ask, what? Grape Nuts? The cereal and ice cream? What is this nonsense? This is amazing nonsense. I don't know what the origin of Grape Nuts ice cream actually is, like where it comes from, but it's definitely a sort of New England tradition. There's only one ice cream company that I know of that actually makes a Grape Nuts ice cream, which again, it's just vanilla ice cream with Grape Nuts, the cereal, mixed in, and that is Gifford's of Maine. They make Grape Nuts ice cream. However, you cannot buy Gifford's Grape Nuts ice cream around here. There was one store that used to carry some Gifford's, but I don't think they do anymore. So I had to make this in the same way that I recalled my dad making it a few times when I was growing up, which is just taking a box of vanilla ice cream, letting it melt halfway, pouring in a bunch of Grape Nuts, and then refreezing it. But I let it melt in the refrigerator, and the consistency is still pretty good. So I'm very excited. Oh, so excited. Blueberry pie, Grape Nuts ice cream, the perfect combo for the end of the day. And some more Barks root beer, because I'm still very thirsty. All right, let's cut into this pie and see what we've got. I'm just gonna try to get like this big old honk of it out here. Oh, this is gonna come out real messy, and I don't even care. Oh, look at that. I was determined not to use frozen blueberries for this pie, so I had to go around to a couple different stores, and Publix came through in the pinch with several cartons of fresh blueberries for me. The eternal question with a pie like this, fork or spoon? We're gonna go with spoon. Hallelujah. I could die happy right now. You've had that yourself, babe. That's a good blueberry pie, everybody. That's a really good blueberry pie. Oh, that's so good. That's really so good. It's not terribly sweet, which I like, you know. A lot of those canned fillings are really, really sweet. So I'm glad we didn't go with that. Making it with fresh blueberries. Wow, that's good. Mmm. Delicious. It's beautiful. All right, we're going to tear into this further, but while we're doing our commentary, let's try this Grape Nuts ice cream. Let's see how it came out. I'm impressed. I can't believe how good that came out. I had this kind of fear because sometimes when you let ice cream melt and then refreeze it, the texture goes really weird. This refroze amazingly well. I put it in the fridge for like a couple hours and it got nice and soft to where I could scoop it out, put in the grape nuts, kind of mix it in. It was just soft enough. And then I put it back in the freezer and it's still very scoopable, very creamy. I just did it last night, so the grape nuts still have some of that texture, which that's the thing. The grape nuts taste, that sort of malty cereal taste, complements the vanilla ice cream so well. But the texture too, the grape nuts soften up just a little bit in the ice cream, but you still get just a little bit of that chewy crunch in there, which, as far as textures go, perfection. That is baller. Wow. Giffords would be proud. I'm impressed right now. So's Graham. He is trying to get up in this bowl. Time to just enjoy this for a bit. What a blessing. Guys, I almost forgot. There was one other dessert that I made for tonight. My level of fullness in my stomach is such that I'm barely going to touch them. But I had to try at least one. This is a Needham. It's N-E-E-D-H-A-M. Needham. It's a candy made in Maine first. 19th century, a confectionery shop owner was making a new candy and asked his assistant what they should call them. And at the time, there was a revival going on in their town, led by the Reverend George Needham. And everybody was talking about the guy. So the assistant said, now this new candy you got, just call them Needhams. So he did. The Needham is mostly coconut. Within the coconut mixture that is then dipped in chocolate, there is also potato. Potato, you say? Well, that's what makes it from Maine. Because what is Maine if not a fine land to grow potatoes in? And I do love me a good potato. But no, it's mostly coconut, but a little bit of potato. Another uniquely Maine treat, so let's try it out. Yeah. You don't even really taste the potato because there's a lot of coconut in there. So it's very, very coconutty. That's good though. That's excellent. Coconut, chocolate, little potato. What more do you need? Insulin, says my wife. Probably true. You know what I should have done today? Just gone out and gotten a glucose meter and checked my level throughout the day, because I bet my levels right now would be off the charts. Best not to know, right? That's good. Very good. But now, back to the pie. Well, folks, I think it is time to wave the white napkin of surrender on this day of eating. Whew, that pie, perfection. That grape nuts ice cream, double perfection. The two combined, perfect perfection. Quarter of the pie and most of the grape nuts ice cream that I made gone, and I am good. I could maybe shovel a few more bites in, but that would probably just be more pain than it's worth. So I think we're gonna call it there, and it's late enough at night where that's probably gonna do us on eating for the day. But what a day we've had. Whew. Meals upon meals of delicious food, incredible memories, incredible nostalgia that's come through this day of eating. I am satiated physically, emotionally, spiritually, culinarily. I'm a happy man. It's been a good birthday. It's been a good birthday week. This feast that I've dreamed about for several weeks now has lived up to every expectation. I hope you've enjoyed coming along with me on it. Thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate it. We'll see you next time.
Wicked good. Wicked good. Wicked good. I love you, darling, 'cause you're wicked good. You started fires in my heart of wood, and they're burning hot because you're wicked good. Wicked sharp. Everything about you is wicked sharp. When I saw you at the counter of the old Kmart, fell in love with you because you're wicked sharp.